Coach Ben here, bigbenchas.com. I'm sitting here with Alec. He's been training with me lately on the bench. We've been doing some bench training together. I wanted to just ask him a few questions. He's made a lot of changes to his bench press recently. He's going to be pushing for 400 pounds raw soon. And first question I really wanted to ask you is you recently just made some major changes to your bench press. You went from more of a flat back type style pressing, and recently you've really developed somewhat of an arc. You've been cutting that range down quite a bit. So pretty much what clicked for you? What kind of cue really stood out in your head that helped you develop that arc, kind of get out of that flat back style pressing, and just really cut that range of motion like you have significantly?
Well, mostly I think the main cue that stuck out to me was pulling into my lats more. A seminar, what was that? The seminar with Brandon? No, Brandon Lilly and them.
Oh, the reclaiming.
Yeah, the reclaiming strength. They were always talking about. Yeah, Swede was always talking about pulling into your lats, and it never really made any sense to me, even though I watched him do it and everything. And then one night it kind of just clicked, and ever since then I've been able to pull more into my lats, lower my range of motion, and they really helped.
One of those overnight things where it hits your dreams and then the next day you're doing it. Yeah, it's like when I talk to people about, right when you get that bar from the start, you want to start activating your lats. You want to close off this gap here, pull it into position, right? We're thinking about almost doing like a pullover type exercise. Pull that right into position and kind of think about shortening the range as you're coming out with the bar. That really seems to help. That can really help develop or cut a significant amount of range off your bench press, and if you try to take it out yourself with your shoulders. So Alec's been doing that real well. It's been a real major difference I've seen in his bench press lately. Like that range, that must have been like an inch or two. It's just come off that range of your bench.
Oh yeah, easily.
Something crazy. So since we started benching together, you've been utilizing some different techniques. We've been doing a lot of board pressing. We've done some floor pressing, benching against bands. What else we've done? You actually threw the overhead pressing back in. You know, I'm a big proponent of overhead pressing. So I wanted to ask you here, how have these exercises helped you since we started using them? You know, I'm big on the overhead press, building the shoulders up, the board pressing, just to get that overload, build the nervous system up, be able to brace with those big weights. Do you feel all that stuff's been able to help you, and what do you like the most of those?
I think the most helpful thing was probably the overhead pressing. It's something I've been avoiding for a few years because I tore both my labrums, but and my shoulders have kind of withered away since then, or my traps mostly. But since I've been adding that back in and just, you know, being careful of the weight I use, it's, I think, helped build a bigger core for my bench, and I think that's been a big help.
Yeah, definitely the overhead press. A lot of people are not great overhead pressers. Typically, you'll see someone who's a great overhead presser. They're usually a pretty good bencher, but it doesn't usually go the other way. Just because you're good at bench doesn't mean you have a good overhead press. Usually, if you could get your overhead press up, you see a real good carryover to your bench. Overhead standing press is a very, very difficult pressing variation. So if you could get that up, definitely try it out. Start making that a main movement. Really try to build up your strength in that movement. I think you'll see a big carryover to the bench press. Just like Alec was talking about here, he's really noticed the difference since he added that back in. So that's really big, that overhead press. By the way, do you use that as like a main movement on the day, or do you use that as like an accessory, the overhead?
Press?
Yeah.
Well, most of the time it's just an accessory, but when I can get down here, my extra day, I'll do that as a main accessory and really hit overhead press and just more focus on the shoulders, like lateral raises and things like that.
Yeah, try to treat that overhead press like a main movement. So if you could get it on its own day, I think that'll be very beneficial for you. So you don't have that fatigue playing in it when you do it like in an accessory movement. So if you could do that, that could be very beneficial, like Alec was talking about just now. Which exercise do you like the best in terms of building your bench press? Doesn't have to be one we talked about, but something you think really helps your bench press. You know, whether that be standard comp bench in itself too.
I think mostly it's just the bench. You know, just benching straight up, competition press. I mean, nothing beats just doing the actual thing to practice for it. You know, overloading sometimes, maybe with a board press or something, just feeling the heavy weight in your hands, that helps a lot. But I'd say nothing beats actually just doing the actual exercise, you know.
Yeah, it's a really good point. You actually got to get good at what you're trying to get good at. You know, a lot of people are like, how can I do a pull-up? Well, actually start trying to do pull-ups, you know, with band assistance or something. If people ask, you know, how can I do a push-up? Well, do push-up variations. Don't try to do all this weird shit to get your push-up up. You know, get good at what you're trying to do. So that goes with the bench. You want to be good at bench pressing, you just got to bench press more. It's very simple. So you're back on your quest to bench 400 like I alluded to in the beginning of the video. Since we started training together, you were able to hit a 400-pound bench with the tension at the top via bands. So he's held 400 in his hands. He was able to press it. I think it deloaded the 315 in the bottom. So you're right back up there. I know you've been going for that number for a while. Do you think that's within your grasp pretty soon?
Yeah, I think so. I've been pretty close before. I was always taking like 420 with a slingshot. I don't really think that, I mean, I love it and everything, and it makes you feel it in your hands, but pressing it off your chest, it doesn't really transfer over for me much, I guess. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit closer now, especially changing up my form and everything. I think that if I can, you know, lock it out at the top, I think I'm pretty good off.
Yeah, that press with the band looked pretty good, so I'd say right about there. Just a few more training sessions, I think you'll be ready to take that. What are some of the common mistakes you see with people when they start out benching, or even if they've been benching for a while? What are some of the common things you see, and how do you go about correcting some of the things you've done wrong yourself? You know, if you made some of these mistakes in the past, what are some of those that you've seen?
Something I see a lot with young lifters and people who aren't very experienced is just losing tightness. They're missing a lot of their cues, coming down a little fast, a little shaky. I mean, they could be strong and they can get the weight up, but when it comes to those, you know, heavy percentages, they lose tightness. They bounce it off their chest, and they miscue and lose their rhythm, and they just can't get it off. Yeah, I guess I had all those problems too. I think everybody did. Yeah. But you know, just focusing, staying tight, and remembering your cues the whole way down. It's just practice, and the more you do it right, you know, the better you'll be off. You know, practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect, really.
That's right. That's a really good point. I notice that a lot with people too, is they try to bring the bar down so damn fast. There's no way they're building any kind of tension. That's huge in the bench press, is controlling that weight down. You want to think about developing more and more tension as you're coming down to the chest, not just free falling right to the chest so you can press it quicker. All right, there's a balance there. You do want to get it down quicker so you're not burning through your strength, your triceps, but you need to be able to build that tension coming down. If you don't have that, you have no platform to press off of. That is a huge thing. So definitely that's a huge tip for everyone out there. Make sure you're developing tension coming down with the bench, all right? So don't rush it, stay patient. It's a patient game. Would you recommend, since we started training together, would you recommend my bench coaching to someone? What have you liked about what we've done, utilizing some of the techniques out there that I was talking about?
Yeah, I'd recommend it. You show a lot of attention to detail, little detail that a lot of strength coaches don't pay attention to. A lot of powerlifting coaches focus on squat technique mostly. They care a lot about deadlifts, but benches kind of goes to the wayside, and I don't think it should. And
those old cues stuck in time too.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there's a lot of new knowledge out there.
Yeah.
Not just like elbows in, elbows in.
And he stays pretty current, so yeah, I would totally bench programming, absolutely.
Well, I want to thank you for the interview. I think a lot of people could take away a lot from this, better their bench. Remember, check out the website, bigbenchas.com. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Right there, bigbenchas.com. Go get yourself some apparel. Appreciate you watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time.